The Israeli Prime Minister has landed at the Joint Base Andrews in Maryland ahead of his meeting with the US President in the White House. And this marks their sixth such encounter in the US since Trump returned to office a year ago. Now, on Tuesday, Netanyahu's office said that the top priority in his talks with Trump would be the ongoing negotiations with Iran. The Israeli Prime Minister's office said he will highlight Israel's concerns over Iran's missile arsenal and not just the nuclear program. Till now, Iran has told the US that they will continue uranium enrichment and their missile program is non-negotiable. That's the background to this. Trump said that the Israeli premier wants a deal with Iran and that the current talks on Tehran's nuclear program show promise. In an interview with Fox News, the US president said he thinks Iran would be foolish if it did not make a deal. A top advisor to Iran's supreme leader discussed ways to reach a balanced and just agreement with the US during talks in Oman. A spokesperson for Iran's foreign ministry said the talks have allowed Tehran to gauge Washington's seriousness and showed enough consensus for diplomacy to continue. Amid diplomatic efforts, a Wall Street Journal report suggests the Trump administration officials have discussed whether to seize additional tankers involved in transporting Iranian oil, and it claimed that they have held off for now. Concerned about Tehran's near certain retaliation and the impact on global oil markets, the US has seized several ships that have carried Iranian oil as part of its 2-month-old blockade of sanctioned tankers serving Venezuela. A move by the US to block other sanctioned ships from loading oil in Iran would squeeze Tehran's main source of revenue, expanding the aggressive strategy the White House put in place in December in the Caribbean. And this has happened as threats of US as well as Israeli attacks persist. High-resolution satellite imagery taken on Tuesday show the extent to which Iran has covered the tunnel entrances at Isfahan nuclear complex with soil. In the imagery, the middle and the southern entrances are unrecognizable and fully covered in soil, while the northernmost tunnel, which features additional passive defense measures, is backfilled with soil. No more vehicle activity is seen around the three entrances. Tensions have escalated with US in the backdrop of protests that rocked Iran last month. They were put down by what activists condemn as an unprecedented crackdown by the authorities, with thousands allegedly killed. On the eve of the annual commemorations of the 1979 Islamic Revolution, 11th of February, residents of Tehran chanted slogans against the Islamic Republic and Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. All right, my colleague Susan has more for us. More details in this next report coming in from New York. Listen in.
As Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu arrives in Washington, D.C. to meet with President Donald Trump, U.S.-Iran tensions are at a critical junction. In an interview with Axios, President Trump said that he's hopeful a deal can be reached, but warned that if talks fail, he's prepared to act militarily, even considering sending a second U.S. aircraft carrier strike group to the Middle East region to pressure Tehran. That military buildup, including the USS Abraham Lincoln, which is already in the region, underscores that diplomacy and deterrence are running hand in hand. In parallel, Netanyahu is expected to press President Trump for a tougher approach, especially on curbing Iran's ballistic missile program and support for proxy groups in the region as Iran continues to reject limits beyond its nuclear work. At the Wednesday meeting between the two leaders, they will likely coordinate on U.S. strategy toward Iran balancing diplomacy with pressure. Susan Tahrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.